My step-grandmother would start her morning off sipping on, I can't remember if it was Budweiser or Bud Light. And she would just sip on it all morning. One morning we were out on their farm, and my brother was driving her old, not like red. It was just like a little two-door red, I think a Suzu truck. And so he had to be maybe between 10 and 12. I was between 5 and 7. I was sitting in the middle. My grandmother was sitting next to me. My brother was driving. We're going across their pastures. And I said, Nana, I want to try your beer. And she's like, oh, no. Granted, this was later in the morning, 11, 12 o'clock. She'd just been sipping on this hot beer at this point for several hours. She said, oh, no, you don't. It won't taste good. I said, no, I really want to try it. So she said, okay. So she took a big gulp of it, handed it back to her, and immediately knew I'd made a mistake. I couldn't spit it out this way on my brother, and I couldn't spit it out towards my Nana. And so I had to swallow it, and it was utterly nasty. First time I ever had alcohol. Not the best experience ever. Well, fast forward on a dare, my friend Brad was like, oh, if you want to drink something, I can bring something to school. And thanks, Brad, by the way. He brought, I don't know, it was like apple juice mixed with some vodka or something. I don't know. 6th, 7th grade, maybe. And he handed it to me as we're going on our way to the gym. And it was like this much. I don't even know how much alcohol was in it. I slipped behind one of the buses, chugged it, walked back around, got back in line and handed it to him. He's like, did you drink all of it? I was like, yeah. And it tasted like apple juice with something else in it. He's like, oh, you're supposed to just sip it. You're not supposed to. Oh, I didn't know. And not that it ever did anything to me for gym class. But so those were my early experiences with alcohol. At the time, I didn't know that my dad enjoyed the occasional, I think he drank vodka. And my mom would have wine every now and then. But growing up, I never saw it in our house. Fast forward to many moons later. Now, I have always loved to drink coffee. Growing up, it was Mountain Dew, water, sweet tea. I grew up in the South. And so I thought, man, if I ever found an alcohol that I loved, I would be a drunk. I should probably stay away from it. Being raised in the Bible Belt and having seen people drunk, I'm always one of those people that's like, oh, wow, he or she is throwing up. I don't want to do that. I'm going to stay away from it. And so I don't know. I was probably in my 30s before I actually started drinking alcohol. Now I guess eventually I would drink red wine and some hard liquor, but for the most part I didn't like beer at all. I never found a beer that was really any good. I'm like, oh, but it's, people would say it's an acquired taste. Well, why would I want to acquire a taste for something I dislike? I guess coffee's the same way. Well, I went to some sort of gala with a buddy of mine, Andy, and I remember ordering a glass of wine, and I hadn't had wine in a long time. He was driving. And I remember drinking this one glass of wine kind of at the beginning of our meal. And I remember sitting there and I was like, Andy, I feel like if I were to stand up, I'm going to hit the floor. And he's like, what? He's like, you must have a buzz. I'm like, I don't know what. He's like, you need to eat something. So I was like, okay. So I ate food and it was fine. And then my friend Chris later, he's like, you drink wine and you'll have, whiskey or whatever, but you don't drink beer. Why not? And I said, well, here's my story with beer. And he said, oh, you just haven't had good beer. And I was like, well, show me a beer that tastes like wine or that, has what I would, now call a high ABV. show me a beer like that and I'll drink it. He's like, okay. And he did. And he introduced me to the Chimay Blue and the Chimay Red. And that was the beginning of my journey on drinking high gravity or high ABV alcohol by volume beers. Loved them. That put it off the charts for me as far as drinking beer. And I would only gravitate towards high gravity beers. I would say anything above 7% would be good. And there used to be one called the Cuvée van de Kaiser Blau. And it's a Belgian beer. And it was like 12, 13%. And it's delicious. I'm like, why drink a 6-pack of crappy beer when I can have one really tall, good, nice beer? So I've had all manner of beers. I've had all manner of alcohol. I think I've drank probably every concoction under the moon. I've had moonshine. A friend of mine was... I won't reveal who it was. He asked me if I wanted moonshine you want some off the top or off the bottom? And I said, well, give me a jar of each. And he did. And apparently you want what's off the bottom, not off the top. Off the top will make you go blind if you drink enough of it. But I shared that with a buddy of mine, Chris, who introduced me to beer. I introduced him to moonshine. And the next day he texts me, and I think we drank 3/4 of a mason jar that night. And he texted me and said, my bones hurt. So anyway, all that to say, I don't drink anymore. Which is why you clicked on this video. By the way, my name is Major. This is my YouTube channel. Welcome. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Rabbit trail, real quick, rabbit trail. If I don't get this video out, I'm never going to do it. I've been thinking about it. I was going to call it sober, but that implies that I was drunk before, which I've only been drunk maybe a handful of times and I can have fingers left over. I just enjoy drinking. I was going to maybe set this up at a bar, maybe, I don't know, do a bunch of B-roll. I'm just like, you know what? I just need to get this out there. So here I am, talking head. Sorry. Anyway, why did I quit drinking? And how did I do it? Well, I have to back the story up a bit. Every year, at the beginning of the year, I try to either add something to my life that's beneficial or remove something that maybe isn't beneficial or just whatever, just kind of for the challenge. One year I was off social media for a whole year. I did no beer for a year. I grew my beard out for a year, so I added something to me. I posted the whole Bible to Facebook one year, each day posting, different chapters and passages. So, and there's been many other things. And so one year I did no beer for a year. A couple of years ago, I had a friend of mine, Jamie, reach out to me, and he said, hey, you're the only person I know that's done this. I want to do no alcohol for a whole year. Would you join me, kind of be my accountability partner? And I was like, absolutely. So I said, hey, I'll do it with you. I'm not going to be legalistic about it, but I'm turning 50 this year. So if my wife wants to buy me something to drink for my 50th, I'll do that. But I won't make an attempt to go out and just purchase alcohol, kind of in solidarity with you. Now he's down in Florida. So, and by the way, he and I and one of his buddies, they have a podcast called Shipwrecks and Brews. I am totally messing that up. Brews and Shipwrecks. Anyway, I'll post a link to it, our podcast, in the show notes. So, so he had me on as one of his guests to talk about that. Once his year was up, he wanted to do it for a year, and he just needed someone in his corner that he could kind of talk back and forth with about how he was doing it. And he did it. He wanted to keep it a secret though, so he still went to all his public functions, all his social gatherings where alcohol is presented, and he would wrap something around the non-alcoholic beer, or he would get some sort of mixed drink without alcohol, tea or whatever, and just sip on that. So, and he was able to actually keep that under wraps for the most part. There was some sort of recovery counselor there at one of the functions, and that person who works with people in recovery, I think, if I'm getting the story right, realized you're not drinking alcohol. Like, that's whatever you got, that's not alcohol. And that's the only person that ever figured it out. Of course, he told his wife, and I don't even know if he told his parents, but anyway. So he just needed someone in his corner, and I said, absolutely, I'll do that for you. Well, yeah, no problem. I don't need alcohol. Which is one thing I learned drinking no beer for a year or anything like that, is that I learned, one, I don't need it. Two, I'm not addicted to it, which I think that if you do drink, you need to give it up for a time to make sure you're not addicted to it. I drank because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the taste. I enjoyed the different notes and flavors, and whether it be wine or whiskey or even different beers. And one of the more creative, I guess, gifts I've ever gotten was right before I got married. My buddy Vince threw me a bourbon for a bachelor party, and so everyone brought a bottle of whiskey. I actually have, this is not one from that party, but everybody brought a bottle of whiskey. And the crazy thing is, there were like, I think 10 or 11, 12 bottles, and only one of them, was like a double. Someone had brought the same bottle. All of the others were different brands, different flavors, things like that. So that was great. I had whiskey for a long time. So my friend Jamie wanted someone in his corner, so I said, yeah, I'll do it, no problem. And also, we have a daughter. So by the time that year ended, and I think that was 2022, I had already, I think, started carnivore in 2023. And on carnivore, there's no alcohol. So I'm going from really not drinking anything that year to spending this last year in 2023, and now 2024 is over, not drinking alcohol at all. So the amount of alcohol I've had in 2024, I had one shot of whiskey on Father's Day that just really, like, I don't know what it was, having not had hardly anything. By the time we got home, it was a shot of whiskey that was on the rocks, and I had a full Father's Day meal, drove home, told my wife, like, I'm not drunk. I just feel poisoned. I had to lay down and take a nap. I didn't feel so good. Anyway, I've had a shot of whiskey. I've had one beer, which was around the week before Thanksgiving. My buddy Bobby came into town, so I met him down in Denver, and I had one beer. And anytime your friend comes into town that you haven't seen in a month of Sundays, you have a beer with them. So I'm not legalistic about it. And then I had, with some friends recently, a glass or two of wine. 2 glasses of wine, I think. The beer and the wine, they didn't do anything to me. I don't know if it was just the hard liquor or what, I don't know. But, so I've never been addicted to alcohol. I don't want our daughter to grow up in a house where dad's having a nightcap, or I just need something to take the edge off. I mean, I've never, I don't know, maybe there have been times like, yeah, the hard week, I'm going to have a beer tonight. For me, personally, one, I love a challenge, so no alcohol for a year was great. And then the carnivore diet, actually, I mean, I feel amazing. I don't need anything else. I have a really cheap Malbec that I bought. I actually bought this while on the carnivore diet with the expectation of not drinking it, but just to have it around, like, in case we go to a party or something and we need to grab something, which is actually what I did. I had another one of these. It wasn't a Malbec. When I went over to our friend's house who invited us over, it's like, hey, we're going to sit around the bonfire, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give them a bottle of wine. I had a couple of glasses of wine. But I have the Malbec, and I have this Kirkland's bottled in bond the Master Distillers Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey that my friend Chris gave me, which I still haven't opened. And he gave me this like a year and a half or so ago, just as a gift. So still got the seal. Haven't done anything to that yet. Yeah, it's not going to focus. Anyway, so New Year's Eve is coming up, and yeah, I might open the bottle of wine. My wife doesn't drink, my daughter doesn't drink, but also I might not. I might just leave it up in the pantry. So I didn't grow up drinking a lot. Started drinking in my 30s. Like I said, I can count on one hand with fingers left over how many times I've actually just been drunk. I don't drink to get drunk or even really just get a buzz. I am trying out the Honeyland microphone set. So I've got a mic receiver up on my camera, and I've got the little Honeyland magnetic clip-on button mic right here. So hopefully everybody can hear it. But I'm trying this out. I'll let you know how the review goes once I finish up with this video. Comes with a case that charges. It's got the little lights on it right there. You can see those lights. Really, when it comes to alcohol, for me, it was more social. It's getting together with friends, weddings, anniversaries, things like that. And yeah, I love not drinking. I don't need it. I really enjoy being sober-minded. Not that I was drunk-minded before, but alcohol, it actually is a poison. If you do your research, it constricts all of your blood vessels, which gives you the buzz or makes you black out, or depending on how much you drink. But it is a poison, and we don't need it. And I think there's even new research out now that even like with red wine, like, oh, a glass of red wine is good for you. The alcohol is not. You can get the same flavonoids and all that stuff through grape juice, but then you have to deal with the sugar. So there's other ways for the benefits, for you to get the benefits in your system rather than drinking alcohol. Now, I am not a teetotaler, and nor am I legalistic on saying don't go drink alcohol. Nope, drink whatever you want. I think we have the freedom to do that, but you should also always keep yourself in check. Am I being responsible with it? Am I getting drunk? Am I getting buzzed? Am I operating a vehicle? Like all that. Like I've had a dear friend die from a drunk driver hitting and killing him. So always drink responsibly. But moving forward as the man in the house, as an adult, and all that, just for me, I don't want it necessarily to be a common practice in our house, or nor do I want my daughter, what's daddy drinking tonight? Every night or every other night or even once a week. It's and she knows what adult drinks are. I believe in being sober-minded and present, and even though I live in Colorado, I don't smoke the ganja, even though it's legal here. Never have. My parents smoked cigarettes growing up, and I have a disdain in my being for any kind of smoke inhalation. So yeah, that's kind of my story. I just wanted to get that out really quick about alcohol. I stopped, I think, in 2022. Haven't really had much to drink 2023 or 2024. And that's kind of the plan for moving forward in 2025. But again, I'm not legalistic about it, but I'm also not going out and just purchasing alcohol just to have alcohol in the house. One of these was a gift, and the other one I bought just kind of like give away as gifts. So, will I open them and drink them at some point? Maybe. But it won't be out of, man, it's been a hard week, I just need to take the edge off or anything like that. So, and yeah. So I hope you've found value in my story when it comes to alcohol, and tell me yours. I know for some people it's a struggle. It's a hard struggle for some people. I've talked to friends about I've got friends with addictive personalities, and they know their stuff, and they can open up their suitcase and unpack their stuff and say, this is where it comes from. I don't have an addictive personality. So I don't get addicted to things like that, alcohol or whatever. I'm addicted to my wife. Well, let me know what you think in the comments. If you struggle, definitely seek help. I love being on the carnivore diet because really on the carnivore diet, some alcohol will kick you out of ketosis. I just don't even need it. Don't want it in my diet. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all on the next one. And yeah, let me know, have you ever gone a year without drinking, or drinking a certain type of alcohol? Or do you do something each year to add to your life or to subtract from? All could be good things. This might even just be another video, but this year my goal is to get way more organized, because I'm a creative, get way more organized and continue with the carnivore diet. All right. Thanks, guys. Gotta go. That's a good mix of coffee.